Before we get started today, I want to say thank you for every single like, comment, recommendation, and a very special thank you to my listener support group. If you like what we do here at Off the Deep End Podcast, please consider checking out the listener support tab on our channel's anchor link. Without you, we would not be able to continue the great work we're doing with these conversations, breaking down boundaries and helping heal each other by sharing our stories, our trials, our tribulations, and how we process them. Let's jump straight into this episode.
If you are a veteran listening in, I just want to say that this episode, this podcast, my house, my family, none of it would be possible if it wasn't for your service and your family's sacrifice. Thank you so much for all you continue to do, and thank you for the time spent overseas in defense of this country. What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the Off the Deep End Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Eddie, and I'm so thankful to be joined by the man, the myth, the Smith and Wesson himself, Nino, Mr. Gray. I'm so thankful for your time, brother.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
Excellent, excellent. So why don't we jump right into it?
Okay.
What was it like for you growing up?
Oh, man, my childhood. Grew up in a single family home. My mom's, she was a white lady living in the middle of LA. And yeah, man, she taught me everything. She taught me the game. You know what I mean? Like, she never used excuses. Like she was a hard worker. You know what I mean? Like she never graduated high school. She was 16 years old, and just taught me how to hustle and work hard. And she always said, just no matter what you're doing in life, make sure you give it everything you got. Never put any excuses out there. So, that's how it was. Then you fast forward to my military career. Like it was the same thing. Like no matter what I was going through, like I watched my mom suffer. Like sheesh, man, suffer some brutal stuff and still make it through it. And so she's always been my guiding light to pursue and keep it going. And just like the hustle doesn't stop. So yeah, that was pretty much it. My dad, he was around every now and then. You know what I mean? He wasn't consistent. But my mom, she was consistent. I think that's where I have so much love and pride for her, because she just didn't make excuses no matter how hard life got. And yeah, man, that's how that went. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's definitely one of the most important things, for me personally. Not having my father, the father who created me around very much. It was tough.
For
I
sure.
had obviously somebody who stepped up for me, who was an Air Force veteran.
Cool.
Really got me involved in the military, understanding, how to be a man.
Yeah, yes, sir.
And without this tribe that naturally comes around and supports a young man in need of guidance, I don't think anybody can make it. What are some of the most influential people in your life as you grew?
She's growing up. So my senior year of high school, my mom sent me to Arkansas. Life was just, it was a wild time in life. Like I was trying to live with my dad, and that's a whole other topic. Like, so with my dad, there was a part of me when I had like 14 where I just wanted my dad's love, right? I think they call it like absent parent syndrome or something like that, right? So I moved over there with him when I was like, a freshman in high school. And he lived a very nomadic life, right? He was moving from like motel to motel. And I wanted to have a dad so much that I was willing to accept that, just to have him in my life, just to be, I could be that kid saying, yo, I got a dad, you know what I mean? But yeah, like that, and that's just what that life was. So like when I got to my senior year, my mom sent me to Arkansas just because I was just in a bad mix. It just was not a good time. So she sent me to Arkansas, and I was in Harrison, Arkansas, which is, it's crazy because it's supposed to be the capital of the KKK. But I never felt that vibe there. You know what I mean? So so when you asked me about influential men, when I was in Arkansas, I met a gentleman named Rule Luttrell. And Rule he was an older white man. I think he's probably like 84 now. And he brought me under his wing. He was actually a karate instructor, and he brought me under his wing, and he taught me all the game, taught me the ropes, and just how to carry myself, and how to just be a man and like never back down. And he was speaking the same language as my mom, who's also a white lady, right? So Rule, older white man, like he took me under his wing, like and just never looked back, and then and believe it or not, then I joined the military right after that. And so like that was very influential, just my drill sergeant just coming on. You know what I mean? Just someone to even like tell me no from a male perspective, and then let me know why. Just have some, you know what I mean? Like that was your influence. You know what I mean? That was not knowing any better. You know, they were your influence by default. You know what I mean? But yeah, essentially, and then I mean, honestly, like now, God gave me Mr. Mike Flood, who works for the Seahawks. He's our VP, and this guy, man, he has a heart of gold. This guy, he'll bat for it. He's just full of love, and he's just batting for people all the time, no matter. Never cares about race, color, creed. You know, he just loves everybody, and he always goes 100% for everybody. And so, like, he inspires me probably more than ever. Like now, like he's that one male influence. I look at, it, I go, man, that is one hell of a guy. If I can be like a fraction of that, then hey, I must be going the right way.
And you know what? I might have to change it into Mike Love for
yeah,
real.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
I definitely have gravitated towards quite a few different individuals in my life that really made a difference.
Yeah.
One thing that I notice is that it's usually somebody who's stepping in, who recognizes, they might have a similar background, similar story, not having that father present. You talked about absent parent syndrome. A lot of my friends growing up, a lot of people who joined the military, especially, had that exact same situation. They wanted to know the grass was green on the other side, even if they knew in their heart that it's not. And I've definitely personally experienced that, but I think it's that's where that opportunity for greatness kind of shows up for that person to step in.
For sure. And the thing with absent parent syndrome is, like, man, you will literally like paint a fantasy of who this person could be or would be. And like in my situation, I thought, okay, if I sacrifice, and go ahead and live this inconsistent life, he'll be that dad. You know what I mean? And it just never turned out to be that way. But and that's why I say the absent parent, there is a void there, right? And you're looking for anything to fill it. You know what I mean? And it's amazing if you're able to get a positive influence to be able to do that, because a lot of people get negative influences out there. You know what I mean? And it sucks because that negative influence, pretty much sets their life for the next 10, 20, 30 years. You know what I mean? So like, for me, that's where the military came in. You know what I mean? It was that void. I didn't know how to carry myself as a man. I didn't know how to do these things. Like rule taught me a lot, but it was more on the basic fundamental side. You know what I mean? Like the military, one of the biggest things they said is how to project confidence. No matter what the situation is, project confidence and keep it riding, which fell back in line with what my mom used to tell me, right? So it all kind of like just lined up good, but at the time, you're a little knucklehead trying to get this all figured out and stuff like that. You gotta learn by your lessons per se, you know what I mean?
Trial and error, hitting those walls.
Yeah.
I always called my wife's little brother when he's acting reckless a gutter ball, right?
Gutter ball, yeah.
Because, sometimes you got to put up them those guards.
Yeah,
those
for
guards,
sure.
Where you're going to end up exactly in that same line.
Yeah.
And you don't get out of the gutter.
No.
You just keep rocking until you miss every pin, miss every opportunity possible.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of bad influences out there. There's a lot of gangs, violence, drugs. I look back after I left the military, wishing to get into law enforcement. I couldn't because of my actions. I can't to this day because of some of the things I've done in my life. And
gotcha.
If I could prevent that for the next generation,
that's power.
I own my mistakes. I own my bad posture that I set for myself.
Yeah, for sure.
I failed myself, and now I know I can look at my child and say I'm not going to do it. Now looking at social media, I can tell that you're just this overwhelming force of a father.
Yeah,
your son. Yeah. Wow, what a powerful thing to see.
Yeah. Oh. And it's like you said, it's trial and error. You got as dad, with not having a dad, I got to give myself grace that I'm not going to have this right the first time. I can have all these ideas of what I think is right, but I got to bump my head too, like we all do, try to figure it out. Unless because some people who even had a dad their entire life get it wrong, right? So I always say to parents, man, is make sure you give yourself grace, because you will literally kick yourself in the ass, like for the things that you got wrong as a parent. And you can't let that define who you are as a parent. Like wake up tomorrow and give it everything you got, and keep doing that day by day, and let God take the rest. You know what I mean? And how your kid's gonna turn out, so that God got you. Just put that work in and let your kid know that you love them. You know what I mean? And that's my biggest thing for for my son Jaden. Like, hey, I love you, and I'm here, and I'm gonna be here no matter what until the wheels fall off. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I got to show you how to be a young man and how to present yourself and how to do these things and how to carry yourself and how to be a gentleman. You know what I mean? That's probably one of the biggest things I didn't learn until my mid-30s is how to be a gentleman. So as I learn, I'm passing it off to him too. Like, hey, this is what you do when you're talking to a lady, man. Make sure you're not being crazy. You're not talking, just out of character. You know what I mean? Stand on this side of the sidewalk if you're walking with her. Just little things like that I didn't know were important. You know what I mean? So just passing that game on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the future of this country, it's in the youth. It's not in our hands.
Yes, facts.
Anything could, something could go wrong. We could have another major conflict, and especially with the way the military is staffed right now, I don't think we have what it takes to go into another conflict successfully at this time. And my friends in the military currently at different levels of command are saying the exact same thing. They're stressed out about it. They're worried.
Yeah.
They're worried.
Well, what I always say though is like I remember when the Iraq War started, and there was Vietnam veterans saying, "Hey man, you guys, it's going to be a different war a different war for you," and rightfully so. But I also look how we stepped up. I think that when combat starts, when America goes to war, all this friendliness, all these hugs, and all this stuff goes right out the window because one of our best moves is our reaction to contact, right?
100%.
You know what I mean? So, I always say like, hey, let's make sure we love a lot. Let's love every day. But we know as a country that when it's time to, you go all the way back to like World War II and so where the women started going to the factories and making sure that we had supplies and stuff like that, those, that sitting over there. So like, as a country, we know how to unite probably better than anybody to get the job done. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I think that's where our strength is, and that's why I love this country so much because people talk about 9/11, but we never give 9/12 so much credit because
that was a huge day.
You never seen a country where unite so quick, so fast, ready for action. You know what I mean? So
I was shook in that time, and it was my first lesson of how amazing other Americans can be.
Yeah.
I never understood until my teacher walked up and gave me a hug and said, "I'm sorry that your dad's leaving."
Yeah.
I never understood until they checked on me.
For sure.
Teachers were sending me home with letters from
Yeah.
my mom, and I didn't know. They just sealed it and they sent it home.
Yeah.
There was money. Teachers with their small salary dishing out money to people who were deployed.
That's
families.
powerful.
That's huge. My mom going through these things, and I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
We can rise to any occasion. And because we have that level of training.
Yes.
So we can either rise to the level of training or rise to the occasion or quality level of training.
No, I get it.
And the more we train, the better and everything. Having purpose is something that I think you brought up right there as well.
Yeah.
We had back when World War II happened, we knew what our purpose was.
Yeah.
Our purpose was to do whatever it took to win.
Yep.
Within reason, obviously.
For sure.
We're not going to go ahead and eliminate a whole.
Yeah.
We're not going to commit genocide.
Yep.
And that is how powerful Americans are.
Yeah.
Because we prepare the next generation with knowledge, with power, and we look out for each other.
We look out for each other.
We're doing right now.
Yeah.
Right.
No, absolutely.
So tell me about Task Force 12. Right. I know a lot of people do know about it, but what is it like? What are some of the conversations that you have?
So Task Force 12 is the Seattle Seahawks and partnering up with 12 local veteran nonprofits, right? And we are all leaning on each other to get the job done, right? And the job is our local military community, right? And we don't have it all together, but we always say together we have it all. You know what I mean? Like every piece is important, and every piece is not like the other. And I think because it's so dynamic is why we're able to, to be able to win. Kind of like our military, we're so diverse. That's what makes us the strongest country in the world because we are so diverse. We can look at the same situation and have 20 different perspectives on how to attack it. You know what I mean? And that's, same thing with Task Force 12. Like, we had a veteran recently who had some, issues with alcohol, and just was on, rock bottom, and we send the email and it goes out to all 12 of the leaders from these organizations. And before that guy could even respond, he was already getting bombarded with love and care. And all right, this is what happened. Okay, we're tracking. All right, now let's focus on the solution. Right. And so, we're a solution-based team, and that's what we do. So, you know what I mean? Like I said, man, it's 12 organizations and we all lean on each other because like the veteran themselves, like no veteran is the same. That we are so dynamic, whether it's our journey pre-military, whether it's our journey in the military, whether it's our journey post-military, we're so dynamic. So you can't expect one entity, one element to be able to solve all the problems for every veteran, right? So I think that's where we lean on with Task Force 12, especially like with organizations like Minority Veterans of America, who focuses a lot on veterans from the LGBTQ community. You know what I mean? And you know, a lot of these organizations, like we're not, you know, you're not supplied to be able to handle situations, right? And if you are, like, you never want to be able to talk to a LGBTQ veteran like you understand what's going on in their life if you're not from that community. You know what I mean? You can relate as a veteran, but sometimes people's traumas are deeper than that. You know what I
100%.
mean? And so, like, instead of us having that answer, hey, I can contact Lindsay Church from, you know, MVA, or Eric Valentine from MVA, and be like, hey, this is the situation. This is what we got. You know what I mean? Can you help us out? And the same thing, you know, if they contact us and they're like, Nino, hey, we got a family here who, you know, wants to come out to a game. You know, they've been having some tough times, and you know, we want to create some moments to help bring them back together. Cool, I got you. You know what I mean? They're at the game, you know, and then we get to show them that Seahawk love. You know what I mean? So it's very powerful how we all work together. And yeah, man. I mean, you know, it's a work in progress. You know what I mean? We're not perfect, but we are all so passionate about getting this job done that it makes the job enjoyable.
I love that.
You know, so.
It's got to be overwhelmingly rewarding, not just from a personal standpoint, from a spiritual standpoint.
Yeah.
To love another human being, it gives us more enraged purpose. It lights our fire. To say it in a different way.
No, yeah.
I find so much, you know, knowledge, so much experience based in love in my life when I look back, because when I look back, I want to remember the positive memories. And those ones are always rooted in love. I don't know what it's like to be someone other than me.
Facts.
I think it's great to have a team full of different, because you said it before, diversity brings perspective, and we need every perspective when we deal with issues like veterans experiencing homelessness, veteran suicide, dealing with severe alcoholism, with a little bit of mix of PTS, or, you know, military sexual trauma. I've never experienced that, but I've been an advocate for that in the military and after. So, you know, the things we experience, I think it's essential to have a team.
Absolutely.
I know that 9 Lines have been a very, very important part of my life, especially you know, Tony Dayton. Shout out to him. He's a great human being that really leads with his life experiences.
For sure.
Helps. That kind of set the foundation. Do you feel that it's really easy for you to you know, find common ground with other veterans?
Yeah, I mean, because one thing about a lot of veterans is, what I like about talking about veterans right now is we're at a point in our life when we're starting to be okay talking about our traumas and our mental health struggles. You know what I mean? For so long, that wasn't an okay thing, especially like being active duty infantry. You wasn't talking about stuff like that. You know what I mean? So I think I love it with veterans, man, is we're all bleeding and we're all trying to help each other to stop the bleeding. You know what I mean? And find healthier ways to cope, and, you know, how to be better, and, you know, and how to win out here post-military, you know.
I don't think there's any book that can help the transition become smoother. I think it has to be, you know, you taking the steps. You having a team, you know, camaraderie is huge. That's one of the reasons why I like emerging veterans and players. I think they're another great organization out there that really means a lot to me. I know I can rely on Elliot. I know I can rely on Cody. I know I can rely on Sean. You know, I can make a phone call, and these people actively seek to solve any problem that might even show up in my life.
For sure.
Because we have that team, that camaraderie.
Absolutely.
I think Jason Jarman said it best. You never win a firefight alone.
Facts. Yes.
Ever.
Yep.
You know, I've never been in a firefight in the military, but I think it's a great saying, and I think a lot of people can resonate with that.
And and I think, you know, the hardest part about it when you in that element is you have to literally say, I'm wounded, and I think that's hard. It's just to say I'm wounded. That's hard for a veteran. That means you can't, you know, in our minds, you can't, you know, carry your own ruck, and God strike me dead if I can't carry my own ruck on this fucking patrol. You know what I mean? Like, and it's that part right there, and you got to let people know that, like, bro, you can go ahead and put your ruck down. Let's talk for a minute. You can put the ruck back on later on if you want, but let's put it down for right now. Let's talk. Let's share some stuff, because the more you process what's in the ruck, the lighter the ruck gets. You know what I mean? And that's how you let people know, like, hey, it's all right. And then, also too, be willing to bleed first. Be willing to talk to people about the stuff, your struggles first. Like, because it's easy to assume that, someone's made it and someone has it figured out. But man, like, a lot of times, man, sometimes you bleed the most. You know what I mean? And letting people know, like, hey, man, I didn't get this all figured out. I had to bleed just like, you know what I mean, go through the same things that you're going through. And I want to give you time, and let's talk about it. You know what I mean?
I think that what you brought up right there is something that I've been working on personally.
Yeah.
I don't normally talk about my experiences, but I have struggled with dealing with severe depression and stuff like that. I didn't realize how much I compartmentalized my dad dying when I was deployed, or big issues happening back home, or Marysville Pilchuck High School getting shot up when I was operating with the military.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that these things we compartmentalize them.
Yeah.
It shows up exactly 7 to 12 years in men. That's the one stat I know.
Really?
I'm not sure about the ladies, but
Really?
7 to 12 years later, trauma is gonna surface. And if you don't deal with trauma regularly and practice mental fitness, practice spiritual fitness, all these things, the weight on your back, it gets heavy.
Yeah.
It does get heavy.
Absolutely, especially if you go in the military, because like most, I'm not gonna speak for every enlisted person, but most enlisted people join the military because of what they endured as a child. Like for me, like joining the military, when my recruiter, told me I was gonna get 3 guaranteed meals and a place to sleep at night, like I was sold. You know what I mean? Like, that was my carrot. That's what got me in there. And this is the wild thing about it is, I never grew up like knowing about like, I didn't have no family in the military. You watch, military movies every now and then, and like, oh man, that's pretty cool. You know what I mean? But there was none of my family in the military. I did have an Uncle Bill who, he was in the National Guard. So let me correct that. And I spoke to him every now and then. But like there was like no one there who like lived that lifestyle that was there every day, and like how I was in the military per se. And so like my buddy asked me to give him a ride one day to the Army recruiter, and I was like, okay, all right, you sure you want to do this? So I give him a ride to the recruiter, and next thing I know, I'm the one taking the oath, and he didn't join. Right?
That happens to so many people I know.
Right?
I was sitting in boot camp next to this guy with the same story.
Yeah. See?
I don't know what happened, man. But I'm here, right?
Bro, for me, that was a level of security, honestly, that I've never had before. Like, there's, it was so, like I said, that the 3 meals, man, and a place to sleep, like that was so like. That was security that I looked forward to. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I was sold. And what was cool about the military though is it's like I learned that I have a love for country that I never knew I had. You know what I mean? Like, even now for what I do, man, it's and like taking care of and helping and supporting military, like it, that's something it gravitates my soul. Like it's, you know what I mean? It's so powerful to be able to like help my brothers and sisters who have served this country. And so, you know what I mean? It's just that's what I love about what I do, is just the way we get to help each other and support each other, man. Like I truly do like love who I get to serve. You know what I mean? At this chapter of my life.
That's awesome.
I appreciate it.
One of my favorite quotes is, "The only way to do great work is to love what you do."
For sure.
You cannot get trapped by living by others' expectations. You can't be trapped by societal normalcy. You can't get trapped by a stigma, right? And removing the stigma of veterans being broken is something that I'm very passionate about.
Facts.
We're not, a lot of us might be bent. Maybe it's a little bent at a place.
Yeah.
But even aluminum, if you can try really hard, it might get almost smooth, right? You know what?
And I always tell veterans, like when I speak with them, is we have an organization, Operation Military Family, and Mike Schindler.
I
Oh
love
man,
him. He's great too.
that's my guy. Shin Dog, if you're listening to this, man, I love you, bro. And he has this movie called It's VUCA.
Yep.
And and if you're not like understanding your purpose as a veteran, like, you know, watch that, because it lets you know how strong you are and how like dynamic and amazing you are as a veteran and what you bring to the table. You
Mhm.
know, so like, I always encourage if anybody, like, if you haven't watched it, go watch it and just, take the viewpoint what he's trying to say in that perspective and like really apply it to your craft and come from that mentality and really start winning out here in this society.
I love that because some of the takeaways I had from that movie, that film, was I like I had to write like almost an
Yeah,
essay. There
yeah,
were so many lessons in it, and one of my favorite standout parts of it is that you gotta have to surround yourself with people who are more
facts.
educated in certain subjects. You have to humble yourself
Hmm.
and be surrounded by people who are greater in some areas where you want to become
Yeah,
great in,
yeah,
and
facts,
that's going to help you naturally just become
facts.
great.
Be like, I always say, man, take pride in being the dumbest person in the room, because now there's a lot you can gain in those rooms. You know what
Mm.
I mean? If you're the smartest one, go find another room. Like, you know what I mean? Ain't nothing you can gain from that. Go to the next room, catching some knowledge and apply it to what you're doing.
Yes, brother.
Mm,
And
mm.
I think another one of the takeaways from that film is that you can be the hero of your own story.
Facts.
You don't need
Yeah.
to find it with someone else.
Hmm.
You don't need to seek it through
Man.
poor leadership
Hmm.
in other areas. You're going to be faced with an obstacle just like the hero in the movie.
Yep.
You're
Yep.
going to have to either rise to the occasion or sit there and just stay in your situation.
Yeah.
But usually, a situation is going to become so uncomfortable that you're
Hmm.
forced to take action.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
you're gonna be, when you're backed in a wall, it's really who you find out who you really are.
Yeah.
When you first start getting bleeding after your
Facts.
punch in the
Yeah.
face,
Yeah. Like
I,
you. Sorry, I'm gonna cut you
no,
off
you
there.
keep going, brother.
You could be your own superhero, and the craziest thing about that is your hardest, biggest villain is gonna be the same person you see in the mirror. You know what I mean?
100%.
Only you can defeat you. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? So, go out there, give it everything you got, and be, go home, come home, lay your head on the pillow, proud of what you accomplished that day, and the next day get better. You know what I mean? And take your lessons, man. Like, you ain't gonna have this all figured out. You know what I mean?
And that's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to be perfect. I definitely enjoyed that, and I enjoyed being around, hearing the stories from the people who are part of Task Force 12.
Yep.
But I really enjoy seeing you and your child. It's just this blow away thing to me.
Yeah.
Being a father is probably the most excited I've been in my entire life. I hope that as far in October we plan on having an abundant of me and my wife.
There you
I'm
go.
so excited.
Hey, congrats on that.
I'm super excited.
Yeah.
Hopefully everything goes smoothly and
Yes,
everything.
sir.
But
Yes, sir. God
I've really
willing.
been working on myself.
Yes,
Right?
sir.
Do you think that you can ever be prepared to be a parent, or can you prepare to be a parent in some way, shape, or form?
For me, being a parent, being dad was the only thing I dreamed about when I was a kid. Like, I wanted to be dad because all I wanted was dad. And I used to always tell myself, man, when I become a dad, I'm gonna do these things, and I'm gonna do these things, and I'm gonna do these things. You know what I mean? And so, like, when I got to be dad, uh, that's when I was, I feel like I was at my best. And I will say, like, having a daughter, I have three, and my daughter, having a daughter changed everything that I felt like I knew about parenting. Because, like, for honestly, my little boys, like, I taught them, like, pretty much to prepare, to, like, just to be strong and be powerful and come from a place of confidence and masculinity. You know what I mean? And but one thing I didn't do as much as I probably should have is like hug them as much and love on them as much and kiss them on the forehead and tell them I love you, and you're amazing, all these things. And when I'm with my daughter, all that stuff came naturally, and I had to teach myself and learn how to apply that to my sons. You know what I mean? Because my daughter, I want to protect her from the world. You know what I mean? And I always looked at my sons like, you're going to be the one who protects this world. You know what I mean? So you want to, you want them to be strong, and you know what I mean. But even though you're teaching them to be strong, you still got to they still have to know you love them. There has to be that perfect balance. You know what I mean? Where, you know, like I said, like, you telling them how amazing they are and that you're proud of them and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And that's stuff I had to learn along the way.
Mm.
You know.
I think that we can teach the future of this nation with the lessons we wish we received.
For sure.
And as we grow, like every single day, the lessons do stack up. I have a 2-page running list right now somewhere in this house of the things I want to not do when I'm a dad.
Mm-hmm.
I figured let's start with what not to do, and we'll, my wife and me, we can work together to find the idea of what to do together.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a give and take. One of the main things that I see that you're doing with your son is involving him in veteran outreach, putting him around anything military related.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a natural inclination for him to be, to spread love to the military as well?
I couldn't. I want him to be around very dynamic people, and where he can learn different facets of life. And what better way than put them around America's heroes and the people that were willing to, who knows, sacrifice more than this country's the military. You know what I mean? So let them hear about people's struggles, and but also showing him, let him be around people that have struggled but still came out on top and still persevered and won. You know what I mean? I always tell my kids, you could be anything you want to be in this world, as long as you're willing to work for it. Don't expect anybody to give you anything. Don't ask for anything. Go out there and hustle for it. You know what I mean? And so, putting him around military, just letting him know, man, that you're around strong people. And these are men, women, non-binary. These are trans. These are, and no matter what, no matter who they are, one thing we have together is that we all chose to fight for this country and willing to sacrifice everything we got for it. So for me, I'm like, why would I not put my kid around these type of people? You know what I mean?
100%, brother. It's the way. I mean, it's the way.
Yeah.
Behind every single person who puts out a negative, negative energy to the world, there's somebody who's hurting there, and regardless of how they feel, somebody who might be hurting on the other side is going to be serving this country.
For sure.
Someone's going to be putting their life on the line while others, might spew that negativity by sitting back here in this idea, this freedom idea that people have, laid down their lives to create. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
To give up some of yourself for another person.
Yeah.
That's the idea of this service and sacrifice thing. What was it like deploying for you?
So I love deploying. So I joined the military in 2003, shortly after 9/11. I was 19 years old, and I was in the infantry. And believe it or not, flying to Georgia for training for boot camp was my first time I've ever been on a plane. Right, I'm 19 years old, and do boot camp. And then my first duty station. I'm born and raised in LA, so my first duty station was Alaska, out of all Fairbanks, Alaska. You know what I mean? So where it's -30 in the winter and stuff like that. And it was a wild time, but we went to Iraq, our first deployment, in 2005. And
extreme cold to extreme heat.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
I remember a story where we landed in Kuwait, and they opened up the doors and everything, and and we're towards the back. So I'm like, man, hey, have them turn off those turbines. We're getting all that all that heat. And they're like, the plane's off, sir. I was like, oh, it's hot out here. Shut that door. We're going back.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. So it was hot out there, but honestly, man, we were running patrols. You know what I mean? And as infantrymen, we were running patrols and stuff like that. I mean, I think we were doing we were there. We were there for a year at first. We were there for a year in Mosul. And then, we were running three patrols a day, and for a year. And then we're going back to, we're about to fly back from Biop to Kuwait to begin our travel back. And so we all get on the C, what is it?
C-17?
I wonder if it was a C-17 that took us. I believe so. It was a C-17 that took us to back to Kuwait to go to Bagram. They're like, hey, we got to get off the bird, you know what I mean, because having some issues or whatnot. So we all get off the thing, and then our sergeant, platoon sergeant, walks up and he goes, "Gentlemen, the unimaginable has happened." And we're like, Talk about, we just did Missoula for a year. You know what I mean? We don't what could be worse? And hey, we've been extended for another 180 days. So, you know what I mean? So, like, man, and then, you know, it's not just still in Mosul. They send us to Baghdad in the middle of it all to go out there and do even more, knocking doors down and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
everything.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And so, but like, looking back at it now, it was probably some of the best days of our lives. You know what I mean? But like when you're in the middle of that stuff, where it was like, I think some of the hottest thing we felt, it was like 136 in a little town called Shab and were these little towns, and we got to go door to door. It's 136 degrees outside. I said, Lord, we ain't gonna make it.
I bet they were in there inside the house. Like, don't y'all have anything better to do?
Oh, for real, man. Like, man, dude. So yeah, man. But like, it was cool. And then came back from that. Then I went to Germany. And then went to Afghanistan, and then Afghanistan, we was 4 months in Afghanistan when I got hurt, and we got hit by a 400-pound IED in our striker. We were the lead striker, and it blew us out of it flipped the striker, and I was a squad leader at the time, and so it blew me out of the striker, and then the striker landed on my right leg, and so it crushed my right leg, my tib, and my fib. So I have like 2 plates in there and 18 pins. I hit the blast shield right in the front of me, which is like this thick piece of armor, and had a brain injury. Straight knocked me out. I was knocked out during the whole thing. You know what I mean? I woke up 3 weeks later in like Walter Reed. So
Wow.
yeah, so like in between, I'm over in Launchstool. You know what I mean, and stuff like that. And so and then so I woke up in Walter Reed, and I had like this big, halo around my leg with all these pins in it and stuff like that. But and when I came to, when they're telling me all this stuff, like my mentality was everything my mom has taught me growing up. All right, back to it. Whatever we're gonna do, figure out what we're gonna do next. You know what I mean? And they gave me the option whether I was gonna be, they say, hey, you can, go and be, 42 Alpha, which is human resources, or you can just retire. And I was like, man, I just did 10 years of infantry. I don't know if I could do HR work. You know what I mean? That's a big change of pace. So I just chose to get out. I mean, because when I was at Walter Reed, Representative Megan Bunce from Wounded Warrior Project gave me a backpack when I came to at Walter Reed, and it changed my life. Just getting a simple backpack full of goodies and stuff like that, because when you're in the hospital, you got this little, hospital gown on, butt cheek showing and stuff like that. So they gave me a backpack just full of goodies and everything like that, and just like, hey, need anything, we're here for you. And so like them giving me that backpack and just like knowing how that made me feel, that's how I see every veteran I support is, how can I change your life? How can I change your world? How can I change your perspective to where you want to go out there and help other military too? Because I feel like if we all help each other, there's no way we can lose. You know what I mean? So we didn't lose none of our training once we left the military. We're still as strong and determined and powerful as ever. So just focusing on each other now instead of, instead of like in our own dark room. You know what I mean? It's, hey, how can I help you? How can I be a battle buddy? You know what I mean? How can I, help my brother or sister? That we could probably relate in a lot of the pain we feel. You know what I mean?
100%. Well, that's a lot you've experienced, man.
Yeah, man. Like I appreciate that. I just try to pay it forward. You know what I mean? Like if I can give you some knowledge off of some of the pain that I've felt in my life, and it prevents you from feeling that pain, then hey, I appreciate you, God, for letting me be in this position to help somebody else. You know what I mean? If I can tell you, hey, don't go that way, I've been there, and you don't go that way, you go out this way, and you make a successful decision, that's fine. Like even though it's your success, hey, I'm gonna take a little bit of love off of that. Like, hey, man, I just saved a life right there, or just saved that person from going down the wrong way.
Absolutely. And I think there's so much that you said that I want to touch on. But the thing that stand out to me the most is being in a non-permissible environment, right? Where people are trying to remove you from this world, and you are prepared to remove them from the world if you have to.
Yep.
You're also trying to make sure that the people that are inhabiting the area aren't getting removed from the world.
Yeah.
So it's kind of this weird broken down. When you break it down like that, it makes everything really simple. But there's so many different crazy, unexpected, and you cannot control it. It's completely a volatile situation. Everything's moving, everything's changing.
Yep.
I don't think a lot of people understand what it's like to be in that type of environment, but I think there's something that they can kind of relate
for sure
based on what they see in Hollywood. I don't think Hollywood does a good job.
No.
A lot of times they spice things up.
Yeah, for sure.
In definitely the wrong ways.
Absolutely.
I love that you're open and honest about your experience and what it's what it's gifted to you.
Yeah.
That knowledge and understanding, and to be a drive, this weird drive, this fire that's inside of you to help other people.
Yeah, man. It's because it's a cold world out here. You know what I mean? And you, at some point in time, you wish somebody would have given you the game to win out here. You know what I mean? And a lot of people, some people just don't have that. And there's going to be areas of my own life where I don't have it as much as the next person. But if they spend time and they say, hey, yo, Nino, check this out, and I can grab that, and then and then if you happen to go around that same way, I go, hey, yo, check this out, and you pay it forward to the next person, man. I just feel like at the end of the day, we're a stronger, better society for that. You know what I mean?
100%, brother. I think it's essential. It's essential to find some form of continued service after you leave the military.
Yeah.
Some form. And it doesn't have to be to others. You can be looking out for yourself after you understanding that I'm not right, I need help.
And I mean, the military built you to serve, right? That is your strong suit. Whether it was intentional or not, you are built to serve, right? You are built to serve. So like going out there and serving others with that same energy, like you're gonna win. Like, you know what I mean? Like they taught you how you are part of the strongest asset of our country. Like that doesn't change because maybe the event has changed. You know what I mean? You're still that strong, courageous, determined person. You're just in a new territory, honestly. You know what I mean? And one of the things that the military taught you the best was how to adapt and overcome. You know what I mean? You've heard it so many times. Same thing out here, civilian world, adapt and overcome. You know what I mean? The terrain is different. You know what I mean? Like the people are different. You know what I mean? But adjust, learn it. All right, understand it. All right, now dominate.
100%. And I think going to war with obstacles is essential.
For sure. Yep.
Essential for self-growth.
Yeah.
Safety zones and comfort zones are dead zones.
Yep.
Greg Plitt said that.
Yep.
He's one of my favorite veterans, U.S. Army Ranger, motivational speaker, all that stuff. And he said it, and I really do believe in that act. What is one of the most important things that you wish you could say to someone who's listening right now, who is struggling or is kind of on the fence about reaching out for help to anybody?
Don't quit. Biggest thing, don't quit. There's love out there. And whatever you're going through, there's a veteran out there. There's someone out there who has went through it too. Like, don't quit on yourself, and just power each day, right? And also too, like, honestly, like if you're in a tough spot, go out there and find someone else who might be in a tough spot and give them a little bit of love and see how that makes you feel better. You know what I mean? I think you'll leave that situation feeling a whole lot better about yourself too.
100%, my brother.
Yeah.
And I can definitely get down with that. My final question is, because I know you're a busy guy and you got a lot going on.
I appreciate you.
One thing I got to know is, what does the term, or the phrase, I should say, service and sacrifice mean to you?
Service and sacrifice. I mean, service and sacrifice to me means what I was willing to do for my country. You know what I mean? I was willing to serve, and I was willing to bleed, and I was willing to die for it if it came to it. Maybe not because of what the mission was, right? It was because of who I felt I was protecting back here on my homeland, right? And I can probably speak for a lot of veterans out there that's why we go out there and we fight so hard, right? You know what I mean? So like those veterans, the same way you went out there and served and fought and overseas, come do that with our folks out here. You know what I mean? 22 a day, and someone told me the number went down, but I'm gonna go with 22 a day. Veterans die every day, right? To me, that's 22 too many. You know what I mean? So go out there, let's serve each other now. You know what I mean? On the sacrifice part, you already know how to sacrifice, man. You went out there, and you ate dirt for so long, and you you served, and you sacrificed a whole lot. Where everybody else was out here doing their thing and partying or whatnot, you know what I mean. You're out there serving and in support of this country and that red, white, and blue. So, when it comes to service and sacrifice, that's how I look at it. You know what I mean?
Excellent, my brother.
Yeah.
Excellent. I can definitely get down with that.
Mm.
Well, I do appreciate your time. I appreciate your knowledge, your insight. I really do appreciate the things that you're doing for this region because as you said before multiple times, this is a huge, immensely very dense populated
For
area
sure.
of veterans,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of them don't even know the resources. I think the statistic right now is about 40% of veterans take advantage of the benefits
Yeah.
after service.
Mm-hmm.
And some of it is because they don't understand, they don't know
For sure.
what is out there.
For sure.
But a lot of it is, hesitation. And I really do encourage anybody listening to get with one of the team members of Task Force 12.
Mm.
They're everywhere, and don't hesitate to reach out if you need help. There's nothing wrong with popping smoke and saying, hey, man, I got some things going on in my life. Even if it's just a conversation, somebody out there will listen because as a veteran, when you sign your name on that line, you joined a family.
Mm-hmm.
So please do reach out if you are listening and you do need help. Don't feel alone because you're not.
Yeah.
You're not.
No, absolutely. I mean, like I said, with Task Force 12, there's 12 organizations, and we're all passionately passionable about helping our brothers and sisters. And for everybody from uh, Gold Star, we have Gold Star families. You know what I mean? We have Salmon for Soldiers. We focus on with veteran rights and Fob Hope. You know what I mean? Like, I promise you, like, if you're out here in the state of Washington, and you're looking for some support, just maybe be around that camaraderie. Task Force 12. I always tell people we're Googleable now. You can just Google Task Force 12, and we pop up. And you'll see a lot of us May 23rd at our second annual Seahawks Military Hiring and Resource Fair. We'll have 75 employers out there. We'll have 25 nonprofit resources to include Task Force 12. And best thing about it, man, is Boeing is our sponsor. They came through and said we want to support this, and they've been amazing at how they support us with this stuff. So come through, come feel that love. And yeah, man, I appreciate the time, and you know what I mean. And I got time too if you want to talk more. So
yes,
I'm
well,
here.
you know what? Well, if we're here, then let's might as well jump right in.
Let's
So, okay,
All right.
let's go straight into the nitty and the gritty.
Cool.
You're sitting there, sweating your ass off. It's hot as hell.
Uh-huh.
How hot did it ever get? What was the hottest of the hot?
Hottest, as I said, it was the 136. Shab were the countries are the little cities we were in, and this was 2006. You know what I mean? In the middle of summer there. You know what I mean? So yeah, 136, and I mean honestly, like, hey man, it was a lot of sweat. You know what I mean?
Man.
A lot of sweat. I mean, but we learned. Good thing about it, we had strikers, right? And we learned to just throw these big old water coolers on the back of the strikers, fill them up with ice, throw a bunch of water bottles in there, because during that time we are literally going door to door to door. So like if you and these buildings are built so close to each other. There's so many of them in this city. Like, we're going door to door, smack. You know what I mean? So you're just dripping sweat, man. You know what I mean? But you understand that, like, every sweat, every piece sweat I drip or I drop, where it's all in support for the people back home. You know what I mean? Like, that's where we take pride in that. You know what I mean? That we're willing to go through hell so people here can be in peace. You know what I mean? And we ride on that. And that's what I love about your veterans, man. They're just such a strong and committed force.
I remember when I was in high school, I lived next to a guy who was in the Marines, and he was one of the first people doing that door to door activity. He said he remembers it like it was yesterday. As soon as they got the green light, it was just nonstop.
Yeah.
He said he didn't sleep the first 48. He didn't sleep for the first 48
Yeah.
hours. For 40 hours of kicking indoors straight,
Yeah.
nonstop, day and night.
Mm-hmm.
They packed super, super heavy,
Yeah.
and then they realized that if you break it up and have like a breaks in between sessions,
Yeah.
it's more productive.
Yeah,
So
see?
you increase productivity with less burnout.
Yeah, and I mean, some of the toughest times was during the initial, the initial election during that time, and we would be out on patrol for like 36 hours plus straight. You know what I mean? And just not, we're not sitting in chairs, and we're moving the entire time, 36 hours from polling station to polling station, trying to make sure, because they were, they had the Al Qaeda back out there that was going to these polling stations and preventing people from voting and stuff like that. We were so our job at that time was really to help build a democracy here. You know what I mean? So we're going to each polling station, making sure that there wasn't anybody preventing that stuff going on. And like I said, 36 hours. So for a lot of us veterans, they had a thing out there in military overseas. It was called midnight chow. And midnight chow was the greatest thing. You come off patrol in the middle of the night,
reheated everything.
Yeah, it was the best thing in the world. Like if you came home, like we pull up from patrol, we look at our watch and it's like 11:30. We know we're about to hit midnight chow. Oh man, even though we just did this patrol, we were about to be the happiest people in the world. You know what I mean?
The simple things. I think you get a new sense of perspective.
Yeah. Simple things, man. Like and, you go without for a little bit, you'll start to appreciate a lot more. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Oh God, I've gone without some things in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Oh Lord.
So I always say just appreciate what you got, man. It's yeah, man. It's the little things, man. And I can't tell you how many times I just I used to pray for a Mr. Goodbar. You know what I mean? Just just you know what I mean? So yeah, just appreciate the small things.
Oh, I remember one of my favorite parts about. So we were deployed right off the coast of Iraq for a while, and we were doing UNREP. We pulled away from Iraq, obviously for good reasons, and we were trying to stay away from Iran because the Iranian Navy kept trying to play football games and shine flashlights, or shine giant searchlights at us at our gun mounts in the middle of the night and try to blind the ship.
Oh, really?
And they cut us right off. You're cutting off an aircraft carrier. It's like a 0 out of 10 recommendation, right? So and they do crazy stuff. They point 50 cals at it. They get reckless. One of my favorite moments was there was no one messing with us. We were doing UNREP with one of the USNS ships, and they were sending across bombs. We were just getting some bombs, and then we were getting some food, mail, all these things. And I see this apple on the side of this box, and I say, "Wait a second!" As soon as it hit the ground on the pallet, I didn't let them get in the pallet jack, nothing. I run up there with my knife, I cut open a box, dig my hand in there, pull out an apple. It was made in Wenatchee up here.
Oh, really?
And I took a bite. It was the sweetest fruit the world's ever produced. I can tell you that. When you go without certain things, you really do appreciate it.
No, for sure. Absolutely. I mean, and if it came from Washington, it's going to be good too. You know what I mean? Like Washington apples are amazing. So, I definitely, you go without for a little bit, you'll appreciate the smallest things in life. You know what I mean?
100%. What else about deployment really stood out to you? Because I know they glorify and they also put down the war aspect, right? There's very tense situations in between heartbeats, having to make decisions about is a threat assessment is a huge thing. What are what's your favorite MRE?
Oh, I mean, you can never go wrong with some chili mac. Oh, you can never go wrong with some chili mac and a wheat cracker. You know what I mean? You crunch it in there, some of that cheese. You know what I mean? You good. You're gonna be golden for that night. I ain't eating no chili mac now, though. I promise you that.
Definitely not. Never again.
You know what I mean? I'll tip my hat to it. You were good back then. You gave me a lot of pleasantries, but hey, man, I'm not eating no chili mac nowadays. But to your question, like, what's the one thing that I love the most about being overseas is without a doubt was that the diversity of our military that keeps a country free, right? Like, these are people from all facets, all walks of life, race, color, creed, gender, everything like that. They're all there to protect our country here. So that's the one thing I love about it is the diversity. And that's what makes us so strong. We're not all thinking one way. We're not all seeing one way. We are literally just committed to the mission and using all of our past experiences and who we are as individuals to make one of the mightiest forces in the world. So that's what I love about our military, man, is that we are so dynamic that you cannot put us in a box and say this is who you are. Like, no, man. Like, we are leaders. We are soldiers. We're you know what I mean? We're just so dynamic, and Yeah, as you can tell, I just love our military, and you know what I mean. I just love who we are and what we've done, and because when 9/11 happened, we're that generation that answered that call. You know what I mean? When our country cried, we're the ones that went up there and said, "We got your back." You know what I mean? And and I love that, and I always parade that, and I want veterans to know that yo, you don't need to be celebrated by everybody else when you can sit back and celebrate yourself and what you've done and what you sacrificed for this country and ride on that. You know what I mean?
100%.
You know?
And it's essential. It's essential to have that form of confidence.
Yeah.
To that, you stood for something.
For sure.
It doesn't matter what the mission was. It doesn't matter what crap leader was there with you. Who was riding your ass and pissing you off from day to day.
Yeah.
None of that matters. You signed your name on that dotted line, and you did something that's worth
and
so much more.
Absolutely facts. And when we went overseas, like, when we were fighting these wars, as a biracial, black man, like I didn't fear racism out there, right? You know what I mean? We wasn't worried about that stuff. Like, Al Qaeda wasn't pointing rifles at us and say, "Oh, don't shoot that person. He's white," or "Don't shoot that person. He's black." They were spraying and praying to, shooting anybody wearing that American flag on their shoulder. So, that doesn't change when we come back home. If they were willing to shoot everybody, you know what I mean? Like, they didn't care about race, color, creed, all that other stuff. Why are we caring about that back here? Let's love each other and take care of each other. You know what I mean?
That's definitely something that I try to emulate here. I started this podcast and I was thinking, how do we break down these walls that separate us? A lot of people who are raised in a church and were taught that being gay is a sin aren't going to understand what it's like to be gay. Why don't I have somebody on who is gay? Who share that perspective, or why don't I have a neighbor that is pro 2A and a neighbor who is against it? Why don't they have them? Let's have a conversation. I talk to all my neighbors. I know what their dogs' names are, and they don't care what's going on as long as we have each other's back. We create culture by having conversations, and I think it's important to do that as well. Absolutely. The conversations I had when I was in the military are some of the most intimate, mind-blowing conversations. Learning about someone's whole life. I'm on watch with somebody for 4 to 6 hours, depending on what we got going on with the watch sections, listening to their life story, how they were kicked out for who they were, or how they grew up homeless, or how they were shot, and they joined the military and they had to lie to join because they have physical damage, but they still wanted to serve the country. You'll never know who's serving until you hear the stories, and I think that sharing stories is so beautiful and powerful. I love your story especially. Going from a point of where you're serving the country, coming back home to and serving the country in a different way.
Yes, absolutely.
It doesn't have to end. Just because you take off that uniform does not mean your purpose is over. Doesn't mean that your mission's over. It can continue. You just have to, evaluate what the tasks are that need to be accomplished. Yeah,
and I always tell my brothers and sisters like, hey, let's find out who you are. Find out. When you're in the military, you know what I mean? It's very institutionalized, right? You're doing everything for everybody else. And when you get out, like, learn who you are. Learn what you like. You know what I mean? Like, learn your, like, I mean, I used to catch myself going to Home Depot and smelling different kind of flowers and listening to, like, our smelling, like, how certain things make me, like, how certain smells make me feel, or certain sounds, you know what I mean, and just learning me as best as I could, because the more I learned me, the more I'd be able to adapt to everybody else, right? And so that's one thing I can tell you is when you learn you, take that time to learn you, like, and it's going to be hard, especially if if you're a family man or a family woman or a family person, like, but find time to take away and just focus on you. You know what I mean? Listen to, like, for me, like, listening to music is very powerful for me. So just listen to just all types of music and just really and if you got to let some emotions out, let some emotions out. You know what I mean? Like, if you got to shed tears, but, like, process what you've been through and learn you. Like, there's parts of you that you probably do not think about or you feel ashamed of or whatever. Like, grab that, go sit somewhere, really process that and really, come to terms with whatever that is, and get back in this world. You know what I mean? Because the world needs you, and we need you at your best, and you can only be at your best if you're at your best with yourself. You know.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things that my big dog Greg Plitt said again.
Yeah.
He was talking about if the system's not broke, don't fix it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If a system works and it can be improved, it's just as good as broke. I think, as human beings in this world, and especially in this country, we have to keep reinventing ourselves.
For sure.
If we look at people like Madonna, she reinvented. How many times has she reinvented herself? I'm not gonna be a liar, and this newer version, I'm still on the fence about. But how many times has she reinvented herself?
Yeah.
4 minutes with Justin Timberlake teaming up with Timbaland. That what she reinvented herself so many times over the years.
Yeah.
If we don't continue to reinvent ourselves and find our new purpose or this next chapter, it's really hard. It's really hard to see the beauty in life.
Yeah.
My one of my leaders was traveling through here, Chief Brontes. He retired as senior chief, but he was coming through here, and that man told me that sometimes it's okay to close a chapter.
Yeah.
It's okay to close a chapter in your life and let go.
Yeah.
And that kind of really started my journey to healing.
And that's what people too.
Military.
Yeah, it's with people too. Like I had to come to terms to tell myself I'm not a soldier anymore, right? Like I'm always gonna be a soldier at heart. You know what I mean? But it's a new chapter, and I honestly I always say the best thing that ever happened to me was quarantine, because quarantine. You had to talk to yourself. It was only you versus you in that mirror. You couldn't run to no gym and go work out. You couldn't run no bar and go drink it out. You had to talk to you, and that's a hard conversation. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, learn you and give yourself grace and be proud of who you are. You volunteered to join a country to fight for a country during war. If that's not something to clap for, man, I don't know too many other things that I would clap for outside of that if I can't clap for that. So clap for yourself, and I'm proud of you, and this country's proud of you, and know that, and keep pushing forward.
Absolutely, man. Well, what is the future look like for you? Because I know that you always have things going on. You have goals that you aspire to achieve. You got to keep setting examples for your children.
For sure.
What's your personal goal for the future? What would you like to accomplish with Task Force 12 and personally?
My biggest when Task Force 12 came out, it was meant to serve veterans, but also these are all veteran-owned organizations, veteran-ran, and so my thing was to make those relationships between the football club and these nonprofit organizations, and they all we have the NFL, we have salute to service, and I always feel like the Seahawks, man, we do that better than anybody, and we want to show that in the military community too. You know what I mean? That when you go down to the first floor with coach, that team is always trying to be the best no matter what. You go up to the third floor from the president Chuck to our VPs, everybody in their own perspective field is trying to be the best and work at being the best. So same thing with our community. We are going in there to be the best. We're not half stepping. We're not taking no. We're giving it everything we got, using our platform to help as literally as many people in the community. You know what I mean? And it's not just military. We have Kyle, who he's taking. He focuses on youth. He's taking a bunch of kids, black kids, on an HBCU trip. You know what I mean? And we taking care of that, and that's powerful. You know what I mean? When I was a kid, didn't nobody take me no HBCU.
No.
I didn't know what an HBCU was until I was 30. You know what I mean?
I didn't know what it was until I watched Stop the Yard. Truth University.
You know what I'm saying? So seeing Kyle do this, or even Hannah, who's so passionate about mental health, you know what I mean? And that for me, with my struggles, just being able to be at one of her events, you know what I mean, where they're talking about mental health, and where KJ spoke about on how mental health played a toll on him, and just seeing all these people passionate about serving our community and saving people and helping people and supporting them, however that may look, and if we're able to do that by using our platform and also showing how we've all bled. You know what I mean? And if it helps somebody else, man, we're all for it. But like, we are so passionate as an organization to be the best at everything we're doing. You know what I mean? And like, and we really feel that you can really see that if you look at us. You know what I mean? If you watch what we're doing, you know what I mean? We are out there to give it everything we got and no half stepping. You know what I mean? And we ride on that. And we're very prideful on that too. You know what I mean? Making an impact every day.
I love it. I think that's definitely a continued goal.
No, absolutely.
It's got to happen. I think anything with consistency, dedication, and always leveling up and trying to find new innovative ways to connect with the community, it's going to be successful. No matter
absolutely,
what.
like
a recipe for success.
Absolutely, like they matter. You matter. You know what I mean? And we want you to feel that. You know what I mean? Especially our fans. We got like we always say, man. We, the team, the club, like the 12s are the most amazing, fan base in the world. You know what I mean? And that's part of our community. You know what I mean? So they invest so much in us. Why are we not going to invest so much back in them? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so that's our focus. That's the mindset. Like, you know what I mean? And we're proud of that.
Excellent. Well, that's so exciting, man. Yeah. Well, I'm definitely excited to stay, to stay connected with the future and hear about new things, new exciting things. I'm definitely looking to volunteer in the very near future once I get some personal matters out of the way with my life a little cloudy right now.
Take care of yourself, man, and you know what I mean. Like, don't ever second guess that you're important too. You know what I mean. Every part of that. You know what I mean. So take time. Always focus on yourself. But when you're ready, go out there. Make sure you help out some other folks too. You know what I mean. They're gonna need you.
And I'm excited to do that.
Yes, sir.
Well, I definitely appreciate your time, Mr. Nino. Thank you so much for your insight, for your honesty. Having a very, very candid conversation about a horrible life experience and how you turned it into more fuel for your fire. I really do admire that about you. I admire the path you're on. I think that it's an enormous and a big ask for the world. It's not even a request. You're demanding that the world improves via your actions.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really powerful. I think it's exactly what we need in the world, especially in this area. Very, very dense population of veterans in this area. I'm on the phone with one this morning who is in a crisis situation.
Yeah.
And I don't think that there's ever a bad time to show somebody else some love.
No, absolutely. And when you get off that phone or you get off that interaction, you feel so much better too. You know what I mean? And they feel so much better, and they take that away. They go pass it on to somebody else. You know what I mean? So, I mean, if I do all this, or if you do everything you're doing, and it saves just one life, hey man, that's a win. I'll chalk my hat up for that. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely a W.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll take that W.
100%, brother. Well, I appreciate your time, and I also appreciate every single person listening in. Thank you so much for tapping in another episode. As you have heard, there's a whole lot of things going on over here at Task Force 12, and it's all being orchestrated with a phenomenal team. I've had many of them on the podcast so far, and I could not go without having Nino on, because everywhere you look, he's involved in creating culture in this area. How do we defeat racism? How do we stop this veteran suicide issue? Or how do we end veteran homelessness? By creating culture surrounding these issues and how we are working together. Spread awareness and love. Love is definitely a key contributor in that as well. So thank you so much for listening. As always, make sure you head over to the Facebook page and let's keep this conversation going. How do you think we can continue to move forward? I will pass off the information to him, and check the link in the description to get connected with him and follow his journey and the great things he's doing with his family and, of course, the Seahawks. Much love, y'all. Take it easy.